Hey girl, hey, my name is Sheena DeFord. I am the founder of Babe Crafted, and I am going live today for Lunch and Learn with Andrejka Hirsch of Andrejka Photography. So this conversation is going to be geared towards photographers, but any and all business owners can take away some really awesome mic drop moments and nuggets and apply to your business. Hi, Andrejka. Okay, so we're going to give her a moment to go ahead and add herself to our Instagram live. I am so excited to be chatting with her today. Anything that in the comments that you want to learn more about. We have some questions over here that I'm going to be glancing off to the side to reference. Hello, how are you?
Great to see you.
Yes, so good to see you. Welcome back to the States. I know you've been in Bali for quite a while.
Yes, yes, I'm back. I'm finally settled in my northern Michigan home.
Wonderful. Oh my goodness. Well, it's so awesome to get to spend some time with you today and get to dive into this topic. So we're going to be chatting about how to launch and maintain a profitable photography business. And I shared a moment ago that we want to hear your questions. So everyone, please don't be shy about sharing a little bit about yourself. Tell us who you are. Tell us what you do in the comments and drop those questions. So Andrejka, tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
Well, I started as a wedding and portrait photographer about 15 plus years ago. And at that point, I was a girl with a camera who loved taking photos. And over the years, I came to realize that with a photography business, you can have a ton of flexibility or you can just get overwhelmed and burned out. So in the last year or so, I've been shifting my business, still shooting because I love people. I love weddings and portraits. And I'm now gaining and moving into the education forum to teach business because I feel like photography and business don't always seem to go together. And I have come to love it. And I came to love it once I hit the ground and thought I had crashed and burned. In the meantime, I've come to realize that with photography, you can have any sort of life you want. You can work on weekends or you can work during the week. You can work 3 months in the summer or 3 months in the winter. And then it really is a job that you can kind of meld and make work, which, as you know, I've kind of done over the last years where I work really, really hard in northern Michigan for 4 months shooting. And then I spend the rest of the time living somewhere else, Florida, Bali, Europe, kind of wherever.
Yes, it has been so badass seeing you pivot and shift in your business and just really make it into exactly what you want. I mean, that is what we all aspire to do, right? Is to
Right.
build a business that sustains us, but also serves us really well and allows us to have the life that we want. So major kudos to you, Andrejka. And thank you so much for peeling back that curtain a little bit and showing us, how you did it and also sharing some insight for other fantastic photographers. So what is a really common like misstep you see photographers make when they're beginning their business?
Well, I made this mistake. And it's as I've been coaching and working with different clients, I see it happening as well, that everyone thinks it's all about the photos, which it is. But you wouldn't go into photography if you couldn't or didn't like photos to begin with. So people tend to stop. I think in all businesses, and you probably see this the same thing, when you're starting a business, you focus on the things you're good at and you feel comfortable with, and that's where you want to stay. So I think the biggest mistake people make when they're doing photography business is they focus so much on the photos, they forget about their brand and they forget about business. It took me 10 years to realize how important it was to really look at everything. It's a given that everyone can take good photos if you're a photographer. Maybe not good, but photos are kind of the given. It's all the extra things that are going to really make you stand out. So I feel like the biggest mistake is forgetting about branding, forgetting about systems, forgetting about investing in business and accounting and all the aspects of business, because that's scary. That's the unknown. Us creatives just want to go out, play with people and take fun photos. But it's stepping outside your comfort zone at the beginning that's really good to do. And it's easier at the beginning.
Yeah, right. When you're starting from, from ground zero, you can build it in the way that you want, in the way that makes the most sense. I totally understand what you're saying. I'm like picking up what you're putting down. Like, it would be so great if all we had to do was the things that we're best at, but there are so many other layers that really need to come into play to build a successful, sustainable business. So can we talk a little bit about for the photographers who maybe they're not in the startup phase anymore, you know, they're building their business, they're doing really well, but they'd like to really make sure that what they're building is strong and is going to continue to serve them well and be profitable, right? So
Right.
what is something that photographers can do to sow some of those seeds as they're kind of in that like messy middle? You know, they have some systems, they have a brand, but they're still growing.
Oh, I like the term messy middle. I think there's a lot of, well, I think no matter what, we're always going to hit a messy middle. Like I
Yeah.
think, and I've talked to you about this before, like I think one of the things that businesses come out is they feel like they have to know it all right away, but it's a constant learning. And I would say the biggest tips are go back and revisit what you're good at, go back and revisit what you're weak at. And if you come through and you have all your systems in place, you know, look at your branding again. So there's probably going to be something missing, and throw spaghetti at the wall. It's okay sometimes to take a step back, throw spaghetti at the wall. If you, and actually, in fact, I would say if you're in the messy middle, you've got a little bit to go. Oops, I lost my light there.
Oh.
You've got a little bit to go to, you've got a little bit to stand on. You've got a little bit of ground to stand on that gives you a little bit of leeway to play. So, you know, take 70% of your mindset that's already set and going in your systems and play with the other 30%. And that extra 30% is where you can make mistakes. And being able to make a mistake is what's going to lead to a really big reward in the end, right? So if you know, say you're networking and you've been going to the same thing all the time, or saying the same thing all the time, how do you shift it? Go back to your brand, go back to who you are, go back to what's lacking. What do you want? And from there, where do you take a leap? Take a leap of faith, because you still got a ground to settle on. Don't stay dormant. Push. When you get scared, push further, push harder.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay. So I really loved that you said to not be afraid to make mistakes. You know, I mean, there is nothing out there that isn't going to involve some missteps along the way. Like anything worthwhile, there are going to be some falls along the way, and we have to just be ready to get back up again. And I know that's a cliche. We've heard it a million times, but it's a cliche for a reason. It is just a part of the journey. And I also love that you said, Andrejka, about figuring out what you want, because there's no point in making a bunch of changes if you don't know what you want to go after. You know, it's so important to be specific. So, do you have any tips for refining that goal, you know? And like once you have that goal in front of you, you know, like for your photography business or any other business for that matter, of like, okay, now how do we work backwards and finalize our game plan?
You know, it's funny because I think everyone's goals are different. And I think oftentimes when you're surrounded by, even if, you know, again, I love the term messy middle, because when you're first starting off, you're like, I want to know everything from everyone. But once you get to the middle, you kind of know who you are and you have to start filtering. And that's where it becomes different, because you might see a photographer who's amazing and phenomenal and does so well in a certain environment, but that environment isn't yours. So it really is a kind of like a self identification of what you want. And for me personally, I didn't know what I wanted really until I realized I was already doing it. And then I tried to formulate from it. So like if you're a person who wants to spend more time with your families and you want to be home on the weekends, don't do weddings. Even if your best friend is a ridiculously incredible wedding photographer, you shouldn't do weddings. So if you're taking advice from a wedding photographer, it might not match with what you are. You know, I like to think, me personally, I have a life that I don't have kids. Therefore, I'm going to live a different life than someone with kids. So you kind of play the cards you're dealt and knowing what cards you have. So really taking an inventory and understanding who you are, where you want to be, and then going out and maybe finding people who also match that or have understood that. I'm not sure if I answered your question.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, I think that that insight that you just shared, you know, that you were saying how we do all have different goals. And it's really important to, when you are looking for inspiration, like look for inspiration for someone who maybe is more similar to where you're looking to head and where you are. Because if you're comparing yourself to someone or taking inspiration from someone who is in a totally different industry than you, or this is the environment that they're in, that they've created for themselves, but it wouldn't serve you well. So the comparison game can get a little tricky. So can you talk to us a little bit about the life that you have built for yourself and how you avoid playing the comparison game, how you avoid, FOMO and things like that?
Oh, girl, I still got FOMO. I still got
Yeah.
FOMO. That comparison. I was given the best advice when I started my business, and I think I apply this to every I don't want to use negative, but every like hard part of running a business is I said to a friend when I first started, who had been in the photography industry for several years, I said, do the panic attacks ever stop? And she said, no, they just become less often and less intense. So for people who are like, I'm living high, it's all great, I call bullshit. Like, no way. Always going to be someone better than you. There's always going to be someone worse than you. The question becomes how quickly you can get out of it. Like, can you see it not affect you? So for me, I see something and then I just have to check in and be like, okay, wait, gratitude. I mean, I feel like this is becoming a self-help talk more than anything else. But like when you look back and go, oh, wait, I have done these things. I think oftentimes what business owners do, whether you're in your 6 months, 1 year, 10 years, they kind of forget where they've gone. Like for me, it's taken a long time for people to actually come up to say, wow, you run your business? And that's kind of like, well, yeah, doesn't everybody? Like you kind of forget where you are. So taking an inventory and literally taking a piece of paper and using it as a reminder, using physical, and don't just talk about these things, literally physically write them down. Write down what you want. Write down how you can get there. Who can you talk to that can help you get there? Because doing it by yourself doesn't work. And that's where it comes to systems. You've got the whole computer world to help you as a system. You've got people to help you as a system. Oftentimes as a photographer, you feel as a lone island, but there's so many more ways to go. And there's so many directions these days. There's different cameras, there's different environments, there's different people, there's different types. That's the beauty of it all, is with the right guidance, you can make it all work. It takes work, but you can make it all work when you're going in the right direction. I think oftentimes people run in the wrong direction, like focusing on taking a pretty photo. Again, you've got to do that, but it's just as important to focus on all the other things as well. And I want to say something about touching on making mistakes. Oh my gosh, straight full on, Sophie's on here, made a huge mistake this year with a big investment, but then I learned from it and I move on. Like Sophie and I were jumping through a bunch of hoops trying to get over stuff. It didn't work, but you know what? I'm still standing. And that actually gives you the strength later to keep going.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Cheers to having a team that truly supports your vision and helps make it all happen. Yes, sending kudos over to Sophie. So, all right, girl. Can you talk a little bit about your course? You've been very busy working on a course. Who is it for? What will they learn from it? What's the experience been like you creating it?
I am so excited. Like, I didn't realize how much I loved this stuff. Like, so I've been working on the education platform now for about 1.5 years. And everyone's constantly saying, when are you launching the course? When are you launching the course? And then I realized it's not a course, it's a program. Like it is an intensive, huge program. In fact, it launches tomorrow and I changed the name of it last night at midnight. So I tear back. There's no curtain with me. And it's basically going to be towards anyone who feels stuck. If you're feeling stuck, we all need help. And I know I have a business coach. Everybody who has business coaches that I know, really, that's what gets you to the next level. And I'm finding with the people that I'm coaching one-on-one right now, the biggest thing I seem to be offering them is confidence. It's so much about confidence to get out there and do it. And also setting realistic expectations, having someone you can bounce things off of and grow with that isn't your next door neighbor, isn't your partner, isn't your best friend, because they're going to be a little bit more biased. Where when it comes to this program, it's to all photographers, if you're starting off and you don't know where to go and you have no idea. And I know I spent literally 11 years, not necessarily running in the wrong direction, but standing still. And I know, for example, finding the right CRM, I have been researching every single CRM there is out there for about 5 years. I've looked at them all. I know what they are. I've spent 5 years doing this So then I can tell you what to do, that you don't have to waste 5 years trying to figure this out, running in the wrong direction. So it's all about basically from where to start, how to build a website, how to build a portfolio, what's your brand, all the way through follow-up, reviews, and how to maintain a business. It's an entire business system in a box. It's everything you need to go and know and grow. And then on top of the course, it's also going to have group coaching and building community. And it also is so much about communication. So in the end, I feel like it's a really great winning point for the photographers and for the people you're photographing, because you're learning how to communicate with your clients so that they're having a great experience. I know a lot of people who come to me like, man, our photographer was just mean, or they just showed up, or they just didn't understand me. And this course is not just about the systems. It's also about the communication aspect. I'm super excited. And it's for those people who are at a plateau. Like, I know exactly, I'm the person who would have needed this course 5 years ago, because it would have helped me go, oh, I'm spinning my wheels. How do I get to the next level? Where can I get to the next level? What aspect in my systems are falling through the cracks? And we work together to figure out what all this is for you.
That is so beautiful. And it is really incredible to see you go from, hey, I have an idea for a course, to, okay, I'm launching this program tomorrow. Like, that is so incredible. So major bravo, Andrejka, and cheers to the fantastic photographers that you're already serving and that you're going to be serving. So do you have any like words of encouragement for someone right now who is feeling stuck, who is at a plateau, and are just, you know, that scene in Pulp Fiction with John Travolta, and he's just kind of like looking around like, where'd everyone go? Like, do you have any insight, encouragement for that person?
Let's see. My best encouragement is, it's always to go back to the source. Go back to the beginning and see what's falling, see what works and see what doesn't work. And literally use a paper and pencil. I know these days everyone's like, yeah, I do that. I can do that in my head, but it makes such a difference. So one of my favorite, I have two favorite exercises. And oftentimes also, if you're in a plateau, you might not like your brand anymore. You might not like what you're doing. So go back, revisit who you are. You might not be the same person you were 2 or 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. And one of my favorite exercises I do when it comes to branding is I ask all of my clients to go out and, one, look at, if they're already an established photographer, look at all the past reviews you've gotten in the past, all the testimonials, all the reviews. First off, it's going to make you feel really good. And that is the key to so many things. That gives you the strength to take big leaps. Also, go through and highlight all the words that are the same. So then you really get an idea of how people view you from the business standpoint. And then also do the same thing with your friends and family, whether it's your like 3-year-old daughter or your 103-year-old grandmother. They're all going to see different aspects of you, and they're going to see you in your worst and in your best and your most authentic time. They're also going to be able to figure out these adjectives and then see what lands. And maybe your brand isn't just right anymore, and that's where you're feeling kind of stuck. That's number one. Number two is to go through all of your systems, from who's writing your emails, where are your emails coming from, what's your system, who's doing your social media, how are you doing your social media, what's going on with every single little step from the minute you open your computer. And then look at, there's actually a great book out there called The One Thing. And go through and see what's the one thing that brings you joy and that you want to do. Also, what are the things that you can outsource? Realizing not everyone can invest in everything right away, but this is a goal. And you can kind of put, like, the book says one thing. I think that's a little unrealistic to think you're really only going to do one exact thing in your entire business. To be honest, I want to do more than one thing. So you go through and you kind of red light, yellow light, green light it. What is the stuff you hate doing? What is the stuff you're okay doing? And what is the stuff you love doing? And then focus on those things. Figure out where the systems lie. What software programs can you use to outsource? Where can you get more time to put towards different aspects? It's really about scheduling and organization.
Yes, absolutely. You know that Steve Jobs quote, stay hungry, stay foolish? I really think that it should be stay hungry, stay foolish, stay organized.
Right.
Yeah, that is an important aspect. Thank you so much for sharing, Andrejka. You are such a bright light in the world, and it is so awesome to be chatting with you and hearing all these awesome like bits of encouragement and stories from you and your journey as an entrepreneur, and especially on the eve of the launch of this new program. So congratulations, and thank you so much for sharing your time and expertise with us today.
Thank you. And also, Gina, I didn't tell you this. I'm kind of surprising you on this. I decided last night that I'm actually going to create a separate page for Babe Crafted members to sign up for the course. And I'm doing, it's a whole email launch starting tomorrow. But for everybody that's a member of Babe Crafted, I'm going to be doing, it's already going to be 50% off the course for the next 2 weeks, but I'm doing an additional $500 for a special link that I'm going to send to you that you can share to the group and put in the Facebook group as well.
That is awesome. Thank you so much for being so amazing and over the top generous. You can go ahead and share that link anytime, girl, and I will go ahead and share some love on it and like it and drop a fun GIF.
Great.
Yes. Okay. So where can we learn more about you? Where can we learn more about your program?
I'm basically Andrejka Photography anywhere you can find me. It's always Andrejka Photography, the Instagram, Andrejka Photography Instagram, AndrejkaPhotography.com, Andrejka Photography Group. And then I do have a Wildly Profitable, which is the name of the new brand of the education, is Wildly Profitable Photographer. Because wildly is fun.
Yeah.
And we all want to be profitable. And profits can be fun and wild and crazy. So it's Wildly Profitable Photographer Business Program.
Love
and there's also
it.
that I'll also send all the information to.
Fantastic. Thank you so, so much. Keep being the rock star that you are. And thank you again for sharing today.
Great. Thank you.
Yes. All right. Bye, everyone. Cheers.